From Studio A at Thurston Community Television, the Young Producers Network proudly presents
Talk Time!
Talk Time.
Talk Time!
Talk Time!
Talk Time.
Talk Time.
Hello, welcome to the Talk Time, produced by the TCTV Young Producers Summer Program. I am your host, Sarah Wyant. Today we will be focusing on the arts. We have a special guest joining us who can tell us about public art and art programs in Olympia. Let's give a warm welcome to Stephanie Johnson. Hi Stephanie, how's your day?
I'm doing really well, Sarah. Thanks. How about you?
I'm pretty good. So, I have a couple questions I'm going to ask you.
Excellent.
So, how did you start the Plinth Project?
Oh, that's a really good question. Probably 5 years ago, we redesigned Percival Landing because much of the landing is built on wood, and that wood was starting to fail, and we needed to make sure that the landing was safe so that it could be used by the public. And on that design team, we had an artist by the name of Elizabeth Connor, and she came up with the concept of these boxes that could be used to host sculpture. And so after the design was complete, we received a grant from the Washington State Building for the Arts Fund and made the plinths, and this is our 5th year of a rotating sculpture exhibition.
Wow, that's fascinating. So, what do you think that having art sculptures in Olympia will do for the community of Olympia?
For the community? I like to think of the Plinth Project as a museum without walls. So if we lived in a really big city, we would have museums that we could go to on rainy days or sunny days and check out the art collections there and go back over and over again, because oftentimes when you see a piece of art one time, you have one experience with it, and when you see it again and again and again, especially as you go through your life, you have different experiences with it, and it creates a different level of meaning. And so the Plinth Project, at least for the year that it's here, is an opportunity for viewers to see sculpture over a long period of time. It adds beauty to our waterfront. It's a great, creates a great exhibition for people to bring family to. When, summer, we get a lot of visitors in Olympia, so people can bring their family, or visitors to Olympia are just coming through. And it helps the economy a little bit by making Olympia a more desirable destination to come to.
Huh. So, it sounds really, really hard to do. So, what is the hardest and easiest part of what you're doing?
Oh, so for the Plinth Project, let's see. Well, right now I am probably in the hardest part. 2 weeks ago, we took all the existing sculpture off. 1 week ago, we washed and waxed all the plinths so that they looked nice for the new sculpture. And then this week, we are installing the new work. So today, I have 4 sculptures to install, and then we will be done. We'll have 15 new sculptures on the landing. And every time we install the sculpture, there's a lot of working with bolts, taking off the door, unhinging things on the inside, putting sometimes very heavy sculpture on top, and then closing everything up again. So it's physical work. Sometimes there's spiders in the boxes, so it's a little dirty. And then the easiest thing, one thing we should talk about is that Friday, July 1st, we are having a kickoff celebration, and people can come down to the landing and get a ballot, and anybody, any age of person who can commit to seeing all 15 sculptures along the landing can vote for the one that they believe the city should purchase. And so that's really fun, and that happens through the month of July this year. So we've had about 430 or 440 votes in the past, and I would love to see that number go up. And so the only thing you have to do is write down your name, could just be your first name, the city where you live, because we're always interested. People come from Europe and all over Washington, all over the United States, so it's kind of nice to see where people are coming from. And you have to say why you like the sculpture. You have to look at all 15, Tell us which one you want and why. So that's really an important educational component, because a lot of people will say, well, I like this and I don't like that. But to take that next step and to consider why is a really good thing. And these purchases, the sculpture, the limit on the value of the sculpture is $10,000. So it's a significant investment on behalf of the city, on the part of the city. So it's a good thing to be thoughtful about when you're making your vote.
Okay, and out of all of those 15 sculptures that have come into Olympia, which one's your favorite?
I have to be Switzerland, which means that I can't really have an opinion. So I don't even vote, because I really need to be fair to every single artist.
You can't choose your favorites and
I
then
can't choose
promote
my
it.
favorite, because then I would be biased toward everybody else. So I don't even choose. My job is really to make opportunities happen for the community, for artists, for the citizens, and so I don't really pick.
So if you weren't doing all of this art helping and, all this community service for the art in Olympia, what would you be doing?
Oh, you mean if I didn't have my job?
Yeah,
or
what would you be
if
doing?
or on the weekend? Let's see. So it's interesting. All my life I've been sort of preparing for this job. So I can't really imagine doing anything else. When I was your age, I was involved in dance. In high school, I was involved in theater. I was on the newspaper. I was a photographer. I was in band and choir, and I've just been involved in the arts all my life. And when I got to college, I studied art history. I think we may have a question coming up about that, but I also, in becoming an art history major, I had to take all the studio classes. And really, art is about problem solving. So that kind of prepared me for this job. And also because not only do I have a background in art history, but I also have enough of a background in making art that I know the vocabulary. I can, I have a sense of, an element of sensitivity when talking with artists, because I know what they're doing and what it takes to be able to do that work. So, I can't think of what I would be doing otherwise. But in my side, on the weekends, I do have a little farm, so I like to grow vegetables, and I like to cook, and I like to eat, and I have a dog.
So like how you were saying, you were doing all these things, but then what made you want to do those things?
What made me be interested in the arts? I think I've always been a very curious person, and I think art history, or studying the arts, gave me an insight into different time periods and different cultures. When I studied art history, I studied African art history and 20th century European modernism. So I've always been very curious. My interests are wide-ranging, and I think the arts really satisfied that.
So we have one last question. Who is your favorite artist? Like how you were saying, you study art and...
Oh, who is my favorite artist? So, like I said, I studied African art and 20th century modernism. So let me, not necessarily an artist, but a period of time. In early France, early 20th century, so like 1910, there was a group of artists called the Beehive, so La Ruche. And Picasso was involved. He was Spanish, but he lived in France at the time. And there was a group of artists, and they were doing all these just crazy things. They were doing poetry and visual arts and music and dance, and they were just alive with a sense of excitement about creation. And so that, I think, has been more inspiring to me than any one particular artwork, but what art can do for a community, what it can inspire, the vitality, the energy that it can bring when you have a lot of people doing really creative things and being very excited about it.
So thanks for being here. That's all for this edition of Talk Time. Thanks for all the young producers for their help in making this program. We'll see you later.